président américain Donald Trump a une série de remarques dans le cadre d'ouverture session discussion entre gouverneurs ensemble gouverneurs américains qui réunis. C'est dans la Maison Blanche, le chef d'État recevoir pendant qu'il a pu démarrer avec session ça et que lui-même l'a fait remarquer.
I do want to say that I left a great place, North Carolina, and we're really working hard there.
Donc, on peut suivre ce qui a passé avec le signal que nous gagnons depuis Maison Blanche qui, dans le cadre de remarques l'a fait la recevoir ensemble gouverneurs qui gagnaient pour organiser une session. Donc, un chef d'État, dans le cadre blanche, il a fait vraiment pour faire comprendre que d'ailleurs, que mon temps déjà, il était très critique vis-à-vis de guerre ça, qui a pu dérouler entre l'Ukraine et la Russie. Premièrement, son guerre s'il était là sous pouvoir, ça n'a pas fait. Deuxièmement, et que c'est Volodymyr Zelensky, président ukrainien, qui commençait. Donc, c'est M. qui lui fait dire pour qu'il finir ensemble avec guerre ça. Il qualifié le président ukrainien de dictateur. Donc, M. son médiocre lié population a des problèmes. M. va faire rien selon
I really believe when there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, a tornado, or whatever it may be, you're very capable people. It's called you fix it. You take care of it yourselves. You don't have to call some faraway state and have people planed in from areas that they have no idea. They come in from Alaska to help you in Florida. They say, boy, this is hot here. This isn't, by the time they figure it out, everything would have been fixed. It's not a good situation. It's very expensive. You spend at least twice as much. They don't negotiate. They go out and hire local contractors, and they have no idea who they are. And I'd rather have my governor from South Carolina, Henry. I'd rather have Ron. I'd rather have from Florida. I'd rather have, I could name just about everybody in this room. I'd rather have you do it. You'll save a lot of money. And we'll send the bills. We'll pay, I think, far less. We have to have, you have a little bit of skin in the game. Otherwise, those bills will be much higher than they're supposed to be, especially with a couple of you in this room who I know will get bills that you wouldn't believe, record setters. But so I think 75-25 with the government, the federal government paying 75. And we'll go right through to probably either go through Commerce, maybe go through Marco, because Marco's very good with money. I don't think I'm going to give him to the environmental gentleman, Lee Zeldin here, because Lee's going to say, what's this all about, huh? They gave me this too. You have found some big stuff, by the way, some big fraud. You have, as he said, this one's not even explainable. We're talking about billions of dollars, so great job, Lee. Really, it's sad, but it's a great job you've done in a very short period of time. But I think Marco or Scott or Howard, and if wherever Howard may be, we want to congratulate him. It was a great session. He got no Democrat votes. I thought he was.
Bon, nous avons toujours gagné certaines difficultés avec la qualité sonore là. On a essayé dans quelle mesure que nous sommes capables de changer de source pour nous capables d'apporter pour information de
honestly, that shouldn't be, but he got we're forging even stronger bonds of cooperation to better serve the American people. I also want to thank the members. And hearing we set a record on approvals. And I was screaming, I thought it was going so slowly. I think we have a record. So I apologize to anybody I screamed at. But no, it was announced this morning. I think we had a record for the number of positions, so that's great. And they're great people. So I'll begin by introducing Secretary of State Marco Rubio. he scares me because he got 99 votes. So that's either unbelievably good because he's an incredible diplomat and therefore he's Secretary of State and you couldn't have picked it, or I'm a little nervous about you, Mark. And the only vote he didn't get was our Vice President, who couldn't vote because he had just left. So that's you got 100%. But it really says something. I think it says working together. It's an amazing tribute, I think. I'll let you know about it. I'll let you know about it in about 2 years, everybody. Marco's been great, and he's been in some big meetings with people at the highest level of states that we would say, states meaning other countries that we would have said wouldn't have dealt so well, but they're dealing very well. You have a great group of people with Steve Witkoff and Michael Waltz, and we're making amazing progress. I mean, we've made more progress on that situation, which is Ukraine, than they have in 3 years. Again, it's so sad that it began, but we're also working very hard in the Middle East. Another one that wouldn't have happened, we would never have had, you wouldn't have had October 7th. They had no money, Iran was broke. We had sanctions up on Iran that nobody's ever seen before. They were literally broke, and they were not giving any money to Hezbollah, to Hamas. And how about Hamas yesterday with the babies? How about that? You know, we're going to take that. We're going to continue to take that. I don't think so. But I want to just thank you, Marco, for doing a great job, and Scott, you also. Scott went all the way to Ukraine. I said, don't do it. That's why they have telephones. But look, it's always better to meet in person. But I just didn't feel that it was good, and it was dangerous. You saw things on that train ride that you didn't like, I understand. You know, it's a pretty dangerous ride, a long ride. How long was that? 10-hour ride. It's after you get there. And a very dangerous journey, but he wanted to do it. He's a patriot. He wanted to do it. It's better to do it than it is with a telephone. Always better. I always say much better to meet in person, but that was dangerous. I like him. Therefore, I didn't want him to do it. If I didn't like him, I would have suggested he do it. In fact, I'd say, go back today and let's give it another shot. But I hear that they're going to agree pretty much with what. But that's not the big thing. The big thing is getting it done, and we'll get it done. Also, somebody who's been so popular right from the beginning, very, very little opposition, but she's fantastic. She was the Attorney General of Florida for 8 years, highly respected, and just an amazing person, amazing leader and woman, Pam Bondi. Good, Pam. How's it going? Good? You got enough work? You got a lot of work over there, I'll tell you. She's going to be unbelievable. I don't even think about it. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, and Doug, I don't know if Doug's here, was last night. Oh, good. So you just disappear right into the woodwork, huh? Doug is a man who made a lot of money, actually, but in technology, sold to Microsoft for a lot, and decided he wanted to do a Trump thing, and he did, and he won easily. And he became a great governor of North Dakota, and really good. And he was all of a sudden thrown into the oil business, right? And he took that to a level that nobody ever thought possible. The job you've done there has been amazing. And I watched he ran. And I said, I like that guy. He was one of the few that didn't hit me. He was after my position, but he never said anything bad about me. I said, okay, that's one checklist that we have good. You know, it's one of the ones. But he was an amazing governor, and he really became an expert on energy. And when I was with him, I realized I wanted him someplace. I didn't know exactly where, but I thought it would be the Department of Energy. I kept talking because the state has done so well. And I said, look, I want you to just hold it, and I want to put you there. I said, sir, I have somebody much better than me on energy. Who? Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? He said, is Chris here? I don't even know. Is Chris here? Hello, Chris. Boy, am I giving him some build-ups. I did the same thing last night. But he's the top guy in the whole, they say, on the planet for energy, in all forms of energy. Even clean, beautiful coal that we're going to be using like Germany does now. They're opening up a plant a week. And they're opening up in China more than, somebody told me, 2 plants a week, you know, but we're supposed to use the wind, which doesn't work. doesn't work from a practical standpoint. But I just want to welcome you because you had the greatest man. When he said, you're probably the only man, because I know Doug, he's got a big ego. And you're the only man I've actually heard him say something. He said, he's so much better than me on energy, he's better than anybody. And so we made a move, and you gave up a tremendous position to do this. And we want to thank you, but we have to get going because when we bring the energy costs down, we have more energy than anybody in the world. We just didn't use it. Can you imagine? Biden set us up in Venezuela instead of taking ours, so that we go to Venezuela where they'd have very heavy stuff. And we have the best stuff in the world. We have more liquid gold, and it's really great liquid gold, too. We have more under our feet than anybody else. But we went to Venezuela to buy oil instead of taking it from our own land and, you know, drilling a little hole in the ground. About, how big is that hole? About a foot? About a foot, yeah. We drill a little tiny hole, and we could have taken it instead of all of the problems. And then we made Venezuela strong again. You know, they've given them a lot of money. They never thought they were going to have so much money, and all the people are leaving. So you're going to have one guy sitting there with a lot of oil under his feet. That's not a good situation, but we're having talks about that whole mess. What a mess. That was another one that was done. He was ready to quit. He was going to be out. Marco, you know that better than anybody. Marco's been very staunch against what took place there. And we were going to have that in any form we wanted it. But Biden made them strong. It was the worst administration in history. And I say that with a lot of Democrats, but I think you believe it too. You can't say it, but you believe it. But I just want to thank you. And if you get those prices down, you know, that's what caused inflation, the energy. I mean, the spending, but I think even more so the energy. The energy went up. They stopped the oil leases. They stopped a lot of things that we were doing. And then they went back to what we were doing as much as they could because the prices were going through the roof. Remember that initial surge? It was brutal. And they went back. They let any rig that we had up just drill, you know, and they ended up doing similar numbers, but we wouldn't have been at those numbers. We would have been double or triple those numbers. Those were from years ago. But energy caused our problem. But I just want to thank you for recommending him. And what we've done is he's the head of Department of Energy. He's Department of the Interior. And it's really screwy because the Department of the Interior has all the energy other than some nuclear energy that you're in charge of. But here's all the energy, is all the land, all the great places. We have more than any other country in the world. And he's in charge of it. The problem is he can't drill. And he drills, but he has no land. So what do? We said, I have an idea. Let's merge them. So we merged them intellectually. I don't know if we did it legally, but we did it intellectually. So now he gives up the land and he gives up the drillers, and you're going crazy, right? You're going wild. And you'll do it beautifully, environmentally well, Lee. We'll make sure. But we have a lot of things, but we had a merge. I always wondered, why doesn't the Energy Department do more? And they did do more because they don't have any energy. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. We'll probably have to make maybe even a change in that, you know, somehow merge them or do something, because it's pretty tremendous what you're going to be able to do. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins, who's so fantastic, and she's been at the head of so many different things and loyal from the beginning. She even opened up when we had a rather shocking defeat. She opened up we call it an institute. I've never seen anybody raise money like her. She raised hundreds of millions of dollars on this fabulous thing. But I said, look, we want to win another race because I think it's really important to win twice. And I won 3 times, if you think about it. So but it's only the Republicans smile when I say it happens to be true. But Brooke has been amazing, and it was really tough because this last election, I go to a person and say, "Sir, I just gave you $10 million. Oh, where did you give it to?" I gave it to Brooke. You gave it to Brooke. She's spending it on policy. We don't have to worry about policy. We have to worry about getting elected, right? But Brooke is fantastic, and she's done such a good job, and she's make America great again, top of the line, right? And she's, you know, and what I didn't know, and as soon as I found out, I said, that's that. She studied. That's what she studied, agriculture. She knows everything about it, and she's going to be a fantastic secretary. And you'll do something with the eggs, because I'm hearing so much about eggs. You'll figure it out. You got to figure something out fast. But and we inherited all of the problems. You know, at some point, a few months down the road, we won't be able to say it's so much us. But the big things, really, we can blame other people for, to allow criminals into our country at levels that nobody's ever seen before, to allow people from jails, to have countries from all over the world be allowed to empty jails into an open border. They emptied jails and prisons, mental institutions, insane asylum, gang members, drug lords, drug people on drugs, people that are very sick. They allowed them to come into our country totally unchecked, unvetted. And right now we have a great gentleman, Tom Homan, who's doing an unbelievable job, and Christy Noem. They're doing a great job, but it's something we should have never had to be done. And you see the levels of crime that these are serious. They make our criminals look nice, I'll tell you. That's the only thing we get out of it. Our criminals are very nice people by comparison. These are seriously tough people. The various gangs, whether it's MS-13 or the Venezuelan gangs, they're as tough as nobody's ever seen toughness like this. Secretary of Health and Human Services, nobody knows this particular gentleman. He sailed right through. I thought he'd get a lot of, I said, well, he's going to get a lot of Democrat votes, Ron. I said, he's going to be an easy one, right? I told Ron DeSantis, I said, this was going to be so easy to get all those Democrat votes. I don't know. You thank goodness for the Republicans, right? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And where is Bobby? Where is Bobby? So congratulations. Was that as easy as you thought? Just quit. Well, in the end, they all voted for him. He did pretty well. You got through. But, you know, we have one stat that I quote, the autism stat. And you hear different numbers, but it's thousands. They say between 10 and 20,000. So if you go back 15 years ago, we had like nobody. It was 1 in 20,000. Now we have 1 in 34. Is that right? 34. So 34 or 36 kids have autism. And if you go back, I guess 18 years, that whenever that was done, it was 1 in 20,000. So we got from 20,000 to 34, 36. That's unbelievable. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong. We've done something wrong. There's something you're going to figure it out. Maybe it's a spray that we spray all over the place that nobody else does. Other countries don't. The Pennsylvania Dutch, they don't do anything, and they're amazingly healthy. And he understands. He's working with Dr. Oz, who's a really smart guy. I know him very well. And those two guys are going to figure it out. They're also going to figure out why in the United States we pay $1,300 for a drug, one that we were talking about, and in London they pay, literally they pay $200, even less. $88 I heard in one case yesterday. They pay $88, we pay $1,300 for the exact same drug from the exact same factory, from the same plant where it's made. Got to figure that out. So I hope you focus really a lot on the cost too, because Americans are being screwed, and it's no good. They're not going to put up with it. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, another one I know very well. He's going to be fantastic, Scott Turner. So Scott, congratulations. Man, oh man, you are something. He got up and we had a great meeting yesterday, right? He got up and spoke. He's a good speaker, that one. Fair justice. And everybody loves you. Everybody knows you. Great guy. You're going to do fantastically. Well, you got a good recommendation from Ben Carson. Once Ben Carson recommended you, I said, all right, that's okay. We love Ben Carson. Nobody like Ben. Secretary of Energy, I introduced Chris Wright, and Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Doug Collins, I know Doug so well. Oh, where's Doug? Where's Doug? That voice during the Mueller hearings, that beautiful voice. Do you know, remember the catastrophe that every Democrat remembers this, when Mueller went to testify? This was not a good situation. That's where it all ended, Pam. When he didn't know anything about anything. And Doug said, you don't know what we're talking about, do you? No, this was not a good day for them, but it was a good day for justice, I can tell you that, for fair justice. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, he ran for governor of New York. In theory, you have no chance, but actually, he almost won. It was a fantastic run, amazing run. And he's very smart. He was a congressman. He was fantastic on the hoax, the various hoaxes I had. I had a lot of hoaxes, so many I don't want to name them all. We don't have enough time, but he was always very strong, great lawyer, tremendous lawyer, and also a big believer in the environment and keeping it good and clean and healthy. And I just want to thank you for the job. And the only thing I ask is that you go speedily, because, you know, a lot of people use the whole process, the environmental impact process, to delay projects. We just want them to go quickly. And you can get the same answer in a matter of months as opposed to a matter of years. I feel so strongly, because people are coming in with tremendous amounts of money. I have been spoken to by yesterday I had Tim Cook in the office from Apple. He's investing hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't know. I hope he's announced it. Hope I didn't announce this, but what the hell? All I do is tell the truth. That's what he told me. Now he has to do it, right? So it's so good. But he's investing hundreds of billions of dollars, and others too. We're going to have a lot of chip makers coming in, a lot of automakers coming in. They stopped 2 plants in Mexico. They were under construction, starting construction. They just stopped them. They're going to build here instead because they don't want to pay the tariffs. The tariffs are amazing. It's good. I said I got myself in a lot of trouble. I said it's my favorite word in the dictionary, the word tariff. It's such a beautiful word. And the fake news killed me. They said, what about love? What about God? What about family? And they said, I'm in trouble. I said, so now it's my 4th favorite word. I say, love, God, family. There's a couple of others I could add in there too, but it's my 4th favorite word. So. And OMB Director Russell Vogt. Thank you, Russell. You're going to be incredible. I know he took some hits, but I know how good he is, how honest he is, and he's fantastic with the numbers, and you're seeing these numbers coming out with the theft, right? And it's tremendous fraud, waste, and abuse, and all 3 of them, but I think the fraud is really the biggest. I think you're going to see it. You come out as soon as you can, I think, with your numbers. But because they're not explainable. They're not explainable. So I just, Russell, do a great job. It's a SBA administrator, small business now. Small business is really big business. It's actually one of the biggest banks in the world. It sounds a little bit like, oh, small, little business. It is a massive. It is one big sucker, right? And Kelly Loeffler's here, so she's going to be incredible. And she's got an incredible husband, Jeff, who's one of the most important people in the world of finance. And he knows. He owns a thing called the New York Stock Exchange, so that's not so bad, right? And you have natural experience, but I think you're going to do great. And there's a lot of fraud in there from the past, you know, with all the money that was handed out. It was, you know, billions and billions of dollars. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Where's Tulsi? Is she here? Hi, Tulsi. I haven't really seen you. Good luck. Do well. Have fun. We built a building. The building cost like $12 billion. The building is loaded up with intelligence. Lots of luck figuring it out, right? Good. It was treated pretty rough for a person that's an incredible patriot. We've all known that. So it's nice that you're sitting with Bobby, because you went through a lot. But you know what? You're going to be stars. And over the past month, our new administration has taken unrelenting action to fix every single disaster that we inherited, and we inherited a lot of them, the border being, I think it's the most difficult one of all. The rest we can get fixed, including foreign countries that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And one of the reasons that we won the election by so much, because we won it in everywhere. We won the popular vote, we won the 7 swing states, all 7 by a lot. We won by millions of votes to popular. It's always hard. I guess it hasn't happened in a couple of decades for a Republican to win the popular vote. I think that's changing so rapidly. But we had another thing that was pretty amazing. We had of the 3,000 counties, we won 2,500 of them, and the Democrats won 500. It's a lot. They've never seen anything like it. It would actually, you would have thought that the numbers would even be much higher. When you win 2,500 counties to 500 counties, when you look at the map, you've all seen the map, the one that got certified and came out just recently. It's like almost totally red. And it's my honor. We're going to just work it out. But we've really become the party of common sense, and I think it's important. I think it's important for the Democrats' common sense too. We're going to deal with you, and we're going to deal on a common sense basis. And I know a lot of you agree with a lot of the things. I don't know. Sometimes you're not allowed to say it, unfortunately. But I think we'll be all better off if everybody says it. That includes Republicans saying the right things. So on day one, I declared a national emergency on our southern border to stop the invasion of our country, because we were being invaded. Millions and millions of people. I figured 21 million people, and of that, 2 or 3 million were criminals. And many of them were people that countries didn't want. They would put them in these massive, large caravans. I came up with that name a long time ago. That's what it is. It's a caravan. And these are people, in many cases, they might not be criminals, but they're people that the country didn't want. They didn't work, they needed help all the time, or they needed assistance, or whatever. Our country's got a lot of people in it right now. And we're going to make sure that everybody's treated fairly, but we got to change it. It's the most difficult problem, I think. Additionally, the heroes of ICE have been really hunting down the really bad ones, and we are going. They're incredible people, ICE. They were being shunned by Biden. They were being mocked. And let me tell you, these are tough men and women, but they're tough. They'll see like a MS-13 band of thugs out on Long Island, and they'll bring up the paddy wagons. They get in and they'll say, no, one of them, 2 of them killed 2 young girls in Long Island. For some reason, they like Long Island. MS-13 loves Long Island. I don't know what that's all about. But 2 young girls walking to school, 16 years old. In the morning, they were accosted by a group of MS-13 thugs, and they don't use guns as much. They use knives. They like using knives, and they cut them into pieces, and left them, and killed them, cut them up into pieces, little pieces, and they use knives because it's more painful. And ICE went in. They have no fear of these guys. They went in and they just knocked the hell out of them. And they'll go into a pack. They call it a pack, not like a political pack. Political packs are slightly nicer. But a pack of these MS-13 people, or TRONE Aragua people from Venezuela, and they'll just walk in. It's all you'll see is fists going for 5 minutes, and then you'll see these guys walk out, and they got them between their legs, and they're bringing them, getting them the hell out of the country. These are rough people that we have to deal with. But ICE is incredible. Border Patrol is incredible. Law enforcement, the people in law enforcement, we make their job so difficult by allowing people like this into our country. We just shouldn't do it. So I've just designated the group from Venezuela, TRONE Aragua, as a foreign terrorist organization. I mean, in Colorado, they went in. And other places, they literally take over. They're like me. They're in the real estate business. They take over real estate. And they literally take it over. They just claim it. And they tell tenants to get the hell out, and if you don't get out. They had one case where a guy called the cops, and they went in, you call the cops? Yes. And they cut off his fingers. He says, you don't call them anymore. You cut off the other fingers and your other hand. These are not nice people. But federal, state, and local cooperation has to be the backbone of border security. So I hope, as governors, I know all the Republicans are very much in tune with Tom Homan and Christie and everybody, but I hope everybody, because ultimately you want to get the criminals out of your state. And we're focusing on the really bad ones. We have 11,088 people that we know of that are murderers. that are actually murderers. And I can't imagine anybody wanting them in their state, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat or whatever you may be. I mean, we have many of them murdered more than one person. Some murdered more than 5 people, and they're in our country. They let them out of jails. These were convicted people, and they let them out of jails because it's very expensive to have somebody in jail for a lifetime or whatever it might be. And they brought them in here. The American people expect every city and state to fully honor ICE detainer requests, and we hope they can, and to ensure the safe transfer of criminal aliens into federal custody for immediate removal from our country. You know, many of the countries said, we're not ever going to let it back. Under the Biden administration, I remember it's Venezuela, he's a tough guy, and others, they said, we're not letting them back. They're out of here, and you'll never bring them back. They're not coming into this country. And Biden said, oh, we can't bring them back. They won't take them. Well, we took them. And every single country now, you saw it with Colombia, you saw it with Venezuela. In fact, they actually offered to send planes to pick them up, and they'll pick them up so that we don't have to go through the expense of sending a plane. Is that correct, Marco? Even Marco couldn't believe that one. But they literally are sending planes to pick up these people. And they're rough people, and they're picking them up, and they're putting them in the planes. There's no excuse for any state attempting to aid and abet dangerous criminals, killers, drug dealers, really bad people who are violating federal law and violating the law by being in our country. To combat inflation, I declared a national energy emergency, and we had to do that. One of the things we've done is by doing that, we can go very quickly. You know, a lot of companies are coming in, but they need tremendous electricity, amounts of electricity. Who would have thought that, right? But they need more electricity for AI than we have right now in the country. In other words, we have electricity now for the whole country. They need that just for that one industry. So they're coming in with, and we're going to be leading. We're now leading on that. We've really opened it up, and I hope it's good. But we opened it up, and we're leading China by a lot. But China's giving them tremendous electricity because they do whatever they want to do. But we're working with Lee. And I've told these people they're going to spend hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, actually. So I need double the energy that we have right now, and even more than that, from what I'm understanding, which is hard to believe. In other words, take every car, everything, every building. We need, whatever it is, 100% of the energy. We need that amount just to be in the #1 position. And we need really more than that to really dominate, which I think we'll be dominating. But I told them, and they can't believe it. I said, we're going to get you quick approvals, and you're going to build your own electric plant, so that you're going to create your own electricity when you build your plant, which will be massive. These are massive plants. But when you build your plant, we're going to let them build an electric generating plant where they build like a utility. In other words, instead of using Con Edison, like we have in New York. Hello, Governor. Nice to see you back there. And we do have Con Edison, and they don't do a bad job, actually. They could be a little cheaper with the price, perhaps, but they don't do bad. But we build our own utility. They can have their own utility. If they have any extra, they can put it onto the grid. But this way, they're not subject to a bad grid or a dangerous grid or a grid that gets taken out by bombs or war or anything else. So they actually couldn't believe it. They said, you think you could get that approved? Yeah, I get that approved very quickly. They couldn't believe it, and they're so happy. And they're going to do some in Virginia, some big ones. But we're going to go, and this way, it's really a self-serving. They just have this massive building with a large electric generating facility that'll be powered by natural gas, mostly.
Clean coal. We're going to do as many forms of energy as we can. And it's going to be something I think everybody knows, and you're going to call me or anybody else if you have difficulty or problems, but you're going to have levels of business being brought to this country that you've never seen before. The tariffs are bringing them more than anything else. The country's bringing them, but the tariffs are bringing them. They hadn't been here. And we're creating tremendous tax incentives. But the biggest incentive is they don't want to pay 100% tariff or 200% or whatever it may be. And As you know, we're going to be announcing tariffs on cars from foreign countries of 25%. That'll be done in probably April 2nd. I was going to do it April 1st, but I said I don't like that date. It's going to cost a lot of money to wait one day. You know, I don't know. What do I do there, Pam? Maybe should I do it just April 1st? It costs a lot of money, that extra day.
Business being brought to this country that you've never seen before. The tariffs are bringing them more than anything else. The country's bringing them, but the tariffs are bringing them. They hadn't been here. And we're creating tremendous tax incentives. But the biggest incentive is they don't want to pay 100% tariff or 200% or whatever it may be. And as you know, we're going to be announcing tariffs on cars from foreign countries of 25%. That'll be done in probably April 2nd. I was going to do it April 1st, but I said I don't like that date. It's going to cost a lot of money to wait one day. You know, I don't know. What do I...
list along that I thought I'd just read some of the places when you mentioned Doge. Some of the places.
It's a lot of money, that extra day, Marco. You figure what that costs. Let's do it April 2nd, right? I just don't want to take the abuse. We created the new Department of Government Efficiency, which you may have heard about. Doge, which is now waging war on government waste, fraud, and abuse. And we've begun the largest deregulation of industries and other things. It's proper deregulation that has ever done. I lead the way on my first 4 years. We did more deregulation than any other president in history. And I brought a little list along that I thought I'd just read some of the places when you mentioned Doge.
Responsibility behavior in the country of Colombia. $25 million, $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. They have no place in particular they were thinking of. There is no location. The money was sent out, but they have no idea where it's going. $42 million for social and behavior changes in Uganda, and $10 million for Mozambique medical male circumcision. People that have to be circumcised in Mozambique. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, which $22 million was for inclusive participatory political process in Moldova. And $21 million going to my friend, Prime Minister Modi in India, for voter turnout. We're giving $21 million for voter turnout in India. What about us? I want voter turnout too, Governor. $29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh. Went to a firm that nobody ever heard of. Got $29 million. They got a check. Can you imagine you have a little firm, you get 10,000 here, 10,000 there. And then we get $29 million from the United States government.
That's environmental, social, and governance investments in Africa. $520 million, $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and social.
$20 million for fiscal federalism, and $19 million for biodiversity in Nepal, and $47 million also for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia got a lot of money. $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. They gave $50 million and it worked out so well, they gave another $50 million a little bit later. Condoms, $100 million for Hamas. And we're also uncovering outrageous incompetence and fraud in the Social Security. And I read this last night, so Governor, you're going to be bored hearing this, but you never get bored because it's not possible to even believe it. So if you live 100 years, it's a long time, but let's assume that they had millions and millions of people living because they have like 10 million people in the Social Security living. But let's go over 100. So now you're more than 100 years old. We have 4.7 million Social Security numbers, people from the age of 100 to 109. So if you're 100 to 109, we have 4.7 million people on our Social Security rolls, right? Well, that's a lot of people. I knew one guy was 100. The great Lenny Litt, when he was a builder in Manhattan, he lived to 103. You know him. He was one of the greatest builders. He was so happy. The reason he lived, he loved building. He'd build a building a year, right? never had a problem. You knew Lenny Lind when I was then governor, right? He was a great guy and got along with everybody. He got along with Democrats, Republicans. Everybody loved Lenny. When he died, it was a bad day for New York, I'll tell you. He was a great guy. But he lived to 103, 104 because he just loved his business. He was designing a new building at 103, and that was the end of it. He didn't quite get the design finished. But you had 3.6 million people aged 110, substantially older than good old Lenny. From 110 to 119, you have 3.6. These are the people on the rolls. Now we're looking to see whether or not they've been paid, because if they've been paid, then you're just using those numbers to take out the money, all the money that's paid to those people. 3.47
Possible
million
to
people.
even believe it. So if you live 100 years, it's more than 100 years old. We have 4.7 million Social Security numbers.
3.5 million
People from the age of
140 years old to 149 years old. I think this is the case for Pam. I think I might give you this, Pam, just you can have it. In fact, I will. 1.3 million from age 150. There's 1.3 million people they're saying are alive and receiving Social Security. Now, that's the only thing we're checking. Are they receiving it? Because if they're receiving it, that makes it much worse. If they're not receiving it, that just makes it incompetent. They shouldn't be on the rolls. And the only thing good about this is that when we take all these people off the rolls, and we have tremendous fraud underneath, people that are 80 and 60 and 50 and everything else, but this is really incredible. 1.3 million from 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people are on the rolls of Social Security over the age of 160 years old, including 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229. So we have, think of that, we have 1,039 people who are 220 years old to 229. We have one person at 240 years old, and here's the beauty of them all. We have one person at 360, which is strange because the country's 250. So and they're 110 years older than the country. Here, Pam, you better take a look at this. That's much better for you than for me. Now the question is, are they getting paid? Because somebody maybe is getting paid. You know, I have a feeling you were. I said, what a convenient thing. This is so nice. We created this department, Doge, and the kind of numbers are incredible. It could be $500 billion, but it could be $1 trillion. It could be even $1.5 trillion. We're going to find out. I mean, I'm actually going with Elon, and Elon is doing a really good job. And I said, who are these people that travel? We call them the Dogers. And I said, what are they? He said, they're generally young people with extremely high IQs who are very good with computers.
That's much better for you than for me. Now the question is, are they getting paid? Because somebody maybe is getting paid. Yeah, I have a feeling you were. I said, what a convenient thing. This is so nice. We created this department, Doge, and the kind of numbers are incredible. It could be $500 billion, but it could be $1 trillion. It could be even $1.5 trillion. We're going to find out. I mean, I'm actually going with Elon, and Elon is doing a really good job. And I said, who are these people that travel? We call them the Dogers. And I said, what are they? He said, they're generally young people with extremely high IQs who are very good with computers. Because you have to be good with computers. So when one of these scammers talks and tries to tell them why it's perfect, they say, no, it doesn't work that way. You know, it's very hard to talk them out of something when they have you. But we're actually going to Fort Knox because I want to see, do we have the gold? Do we still have, whatever it is, tons of gold? I hope we do. Wouldn't that be disappointing? Fort Knox. You go up hearing about Fort Knox, you can't get in, you can't even see it, nobody sees it. You go there and the place is dry. Would that be terrible? There's another one. Maybe you should go with us to that one. But we're going to go in there pretty soon. They're going to open the doors to Fort Knox. If any governor would like to go with us, we'll go. Do you want to go with us on that one, Ron? That could be good. Could be interesting. Can you imagine if we open it up and there's no gold? Well, I think there will be. For one reason, it's really heavy. You steal or borrow gold, you got to be strong. So it's not like other things. But we're looking at everything. We have the largest deregulation campaign in history, and we are, again, I did more than anybody, but this blows it away. And for one, every time we put in a new regulation, we're not allowed to put it in unless we terminate 10 old regulations. So it's 1 in 10. We did 1 in 7 in my last administration, and the problem is some of them were put back, foolishly put back. There was no reason for them. So if you truly want a turbocharged economy, you have to do that, and you have to get rid of the regulations. I think one of the reasons we were, I mean, before COVID, and we did a great job with COVID and it was a hell of a thing for all of us, everybody here, but some countries will actually never recover for what they went through. But we ended up giving back,
this economy
and
is
we
so good. We're
turned
the
over
greatest
the
economy in the history of the world. We were doubling up China. I was also charging China hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, which no president charged them anything, but they were killing us. And but we were beating everybody. Everybody said that in 2018, China was going to overtake us as the biggest economy in the world. And by the time I got finished, we were so much bigger than China. We still are now, but another 4 years like we had just passed, you will have China being much bigger than you. There's no reason. If we have a smart president, there's no way that they should ever be able to catch us. But this pollster said to me, sir, if Abraham Lincoln and George Washington came back from the dead and they ran as president and vice president, they'd never be able to beat you. I said, thank you very much. The next day I go into my office and a group of scientists are sitting there. Sir, would like to tell you there's something very bad happening in China. There's dead bodies all over the place. And that's the first time I heard the word pandemic in a long time. And that's where it started. And you know where they were? All around the Wuhan lab. That's why I was, from day one, I was saying, they had little slits like this. You saw them from the air, from space. And they were just little slits, but they were body bags. They were black body bags all over, so many. And that's where it came from. One other thing, I just before we leave, I think you should do this. For my safety and security and for the good of our nation, you should do it anyway, regardless, even if it costs 10 times more, but it actually costs you just a tiny fraction. If you went to paper ballots and you're voting, and I would hope that every Republican would, so it costs exactly 8% of what the machines cost. These machines, they got something going. They get business. It's amazing. So paper ballots, and paper is very sophisticated today. Paper, it's called watermark. It's impossible to copy, impossible to cheat. It's actually hard to believe that a piece of paper is highly sophisticated, but it's watermark, and it's very, it's amazing actually when you see it. You can't cheat. But if you went to paper ballots and same day voting, and if you went to voter ID, and also one other thing, you want proof of citizenship. So those 4 things: proof of citizenship, voter ID, paper ballots, 1-day voting. And if you went to 2-day voting or 3-day voting, but some of these states, you go and you had 64 days. You know, California just finished up just a short while ago. They were voting a week and a half ago. They tried to finish them up. And other states too, they were weeks after the election. I mean, if that were a close election, you'd have to wait for weeks and weeks and weeks. You got finished fast, Brian. Thank you for your help. We did very well in Georgia. That was very nice. But some of these states, if you had a close election, you wouldn't know who won. And then, you know, once that happens, then you really never know who won. But you would save tens of millions of dollars, forgetting about right, wrong, and security, safety, our country, our Constitution, and all of this. Number one, you'd have a much safer election. Number two, everybody, you know the results of your election by 10 o'clock. Everybody, it's a beautiful system. It's boxes of 5,000, boom, boom. And you can go and examine each box. It's so simple and so good. And I did ask Elon, because he knows more about computers than anybody I know. I said, what do you think of the voting system? He said, computers are not meant for voting. it's just not a good, it's too many transactions taking place
Boom.
too quickly. It's just not.
Each box
He said,
is-
honestly, and I've gone to the best people, the smartest computer minds from MIT,
He
from
knows
others.
more
My
about
uncle was a
computers than
professor
anybody
for
else.
41 years at MIT.
What do you think of the voting system?
And
You
a
said
brilliant guy, and I got to know
Or
a lot
voting.
of the people up there.
not a good
And they will tell you
transactions
that
taken
the most secure way that you can secure
too quickly.
the election,
just not-
and probably
he
the
said,
fastest way,
Gone
because
to the best people,
can
the
be very
smartest
hanky-panky.
computer minds from
These paper
MIT,
ballots,
from
can
others.
you
My
believe it?
uncle was
So
a
I hope
professor
Sarah,
for 41 years at
and,
MIT, and a
certainly
brilliant
the
guy,
Republican
and I got
governors,
to
but
know
if
a
you
lot
wanna
of the
save a
people
lot of
up there.
money, you go to
And
paper ballots. It'll cost
they will tell you that
8%
the
of
most
what the
secure
costs
way
are
that you
now.
can secure
And that's
the election,
based
and
on a good
probably
deal
the
for
fastest
machines.
way, because
And then when you go through
there can be very little
days and weeks
hanky-panky.
and months of waiting,
is paper
France
ballots. Can you believe
had,
it? So I hope, Sarah,
mail-in ballots. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have fraud.
certainly the Republican governors,
Without
but if you
question.
want to save a lot of money,
And France had
you
it,
go to
and they
paper
went back
ballots.
to
It'll cost
paper
you
ballots.
8% of
And
what
I
the
saw
costs
their
are
election,
now.
and their
And
election
that's
was over at 9 o'clock.
based on a good
and
deal for
numbers came
machines.
in at
And then when you go
10:05.
through the days and
There were no
weeks and months of
complaints. There was
waiting,
no-
France
they had a winner, they had a loser,
had
39
mail-in
million
ballots.
votes.
Anytime you have mail-in
And it
ballots,
was
you can have
done
fraud.
One of the only people
Without
that has
question.
now mail-in voting.
And France
One of the
had it,
only
and they went back
countries
to
that has
paper
mail-in
ballots.
voting.
And I
Remember
saw
Jimmy
their
Carter
election, and
when
their
he
election
did a
was over at
commission?
9 o'clock,
I
and
think
the
they
numbers
scooped
came in
Jackson
at
and some, at the time,
10:05.
big senators.
And there were no
And,
complaints. There was
their
no,
conclusion
they had a
was
winner,
if
they
you
had a
have
loser,
mail-in voting,
39
you're
million
going to have massive
votes.
fraud.
And it was
And we had
done.
it in
We're
New York with the
one of the only
congressional
people that
race,
has now
congressional race
mail-in
with it. It took
voting.
them forever
One of
to-
the only
like
countries
6
that
months
has mail-in
later,
voting.
they declared
Remember
who was
Jimmy
the
Carter when
jury
he
or
did a
somebody.
commission?
They declared him
And I
the
think
winner.
they had scooped
6 months
Jackson. They had some, at the
But,
time, big
it was
senators.
somebody. Oh, no, it was
And
the
their
woman.
conclusion was, if you have mail-in
Congressman, I
voting,
won't
you're going
mention
to
her
have
name.
massive fraud.
But,
And we had it in New York with the
she,
congressional race. Remember
she
the
won,
congressional race? With
but
it took them
she didn't
forever
win.
to,
And it was
like
really
6
very
months
sad
later,
to see that whole
they
thing.
declared, who
Democrat,
was
that
it,
a
Jerry
Democrat
Nadler or somebody?
and a Democrat.
They
That was the
declared him the
primary.
winner, 6
They
months
had,
later. But
the mail-in
it
voting.
was
It's
somebody.
just
Oh
a
no, it
disaster.
was the
So
woman,
it's very, very expensive.
the congressman.
If
I
you
won't
wanna
mention her
save
name.
money,
But
if you're not, if you really believe
she,
that the
she
computers
won,
which they don't.
but she
if
didn't
you wanna save
win.
a lot of
And
money,
it
all you have
was
to do is
really
go to
very
paper
sad
ballots
to see
and
that
you'll
whole thing.
be
Democrat, there was a
cutting it down
Democrat
by,
and a Democrat. There was a
millions and
primary, but
millions of dollars.
they had
So
the mail-in voting.
America
It's just a
will
disaster.
take off
So
like a
it's
rocket
very,
ship. You're
very
gonna see things
expensive.
that's so great
If you
for
want to
the
save money,
governors.
if you're not,
And
if you really
Democrat
believe
governors are
that
gonna
the
have,
computers work, which
you're
they
gonna
don't.
get the benefit
But
of
if you
this,
want to
you're
save a
gonna be
lot of
opening up
money, all you have
plants
to
and
do is
you're
go to
gonna be-
paper ballots, and
I
you'll
hope we have enough
be
people. We're gonna
cutting
let-
it down
and we
by
want people to come into our country, by the
millions and
way,
millions
but
of
they have to
dollars.
come in legally.
So
we need people in the
America
country,
will
but they have to come in
take
legally.
off
2
like
weeks
a
ago,
rocket
I
ship. You're going to see
signed
things that's so
an
great for the
executive order
governors.
banning men from playing in
And
women's
Democrat
sports.
governors are going to have, you're going to get the benefit of this. You're going to be opening up plants, and you're going to be. I hope we have enough people. We're going to let, and we want people to come into our country, by the way, I do, but they have to come in legally. So we need people in the country, but they have to come in legally. 2 weeks ago, I signed
19 years.
an executive order
Got shattered.
banning men
But,
from
they put
playing
up
in women's
An
sports.
eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce
Many
there, and it's
Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you
218 pounds or
continue,
whatever
because you'll
we're at.
never win another race.
And
And it's
hadn't been
just
broken in
crazy.
19 years.
If you look at what
Guy
happened with the
walks out.
boxing, if you look at what happened with the
Transition.
weightlifting numbers, where
He
a
transitioned.
record that hadn't been broken for 19 years
By about 100 pounds.
got shattered.
That would be a
But,
record
they
not
put
gonna
up
be broken again.
an eighth of an ounce
You know,
here, an
so
eighth
we
of an
put a
ounce
ban
here,
on
and
it.
it's 218 pounds or whatever were
To
left.
protect women.
And
The women, if you watch
hadn't
the
been
Olympics,
broken in 19
you
years.
had
And
two
then guy
transition
walks up,
people that were fighting in the women's
He
boxing,
transitioned.
that women's boxing
He
category.
transitioned.
If you saw that,
and
it
he
was
knocked
brutal.
out that record by about 100 pounds. That would be a
The
record
Italian
not going to be
woman was
broken
a
again.
really good
any
boxer.
longer. So we
After
put a
one
ban
punch,
on it.
She said, no,
And,
no more, no more. I've never been.
to protect
it was a left.
women.
It was not even
I mean,
a.
the women,
just
if
a
you
left
watch the
jab.
Olympics,
She got hit so
you
hard.
had
she
two
said,
transitioned people
"I
that were
can't do
fighting
it."
in the
They
women's
forced her to
boxing.
go
They
out.
have
"No, go
women's
out,
boxing
go out again,
category.
you'll
If
do
you
it."
saw that,
Goes out again,
it was
gets hit
brutal.
again. No, that's
What
it.
happened to the
She didn't want to
The
die.
Italian woman was a
And
really
it's crazy,
good boxer. After one punch,
the
she
NCAA
said, no
has
more, no more.
complied
I've never been
immediately,
hit. It was a
by the way,
left.
that's
It was
good,
not
but
even
I
a,
understand
it
Maine.
was just a left jab.
Is the
She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die.
You better do it
And
because you're
that's
not going to
crazy,
get
but
any federal funding at all if you don't.
the
And by the way, your
NCAA
population,
has
even though it's
complied
somewhat
immediately,
liberal,
by the way, that's
did very
good.
well
But
there.
I understand
Your
Maine.
population
Is
doesn't
the
want
Maine here,
men
the
playing
governor of
in
Maine?
women's sports. So you better
Are you
comply,
not going to
because
comply
otherwise
with
you're
it?
not getting any federal funding.
We are the federal law.
I look forward to
Well,
that.
you better
That should be
do
a
it.
really
You
easy
better
one.
do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you
enjoy your
don't.
life
And by
after
the way, your
governor, 'cause I don't think
population,
you'll be
even though it's
elected
somewhat
politics.
liberal, although I did very
Every
well there,
state has a
your population
responsibility to
doesn't want
comply
men
with
playing in
Title IX.
women's sports.
They have
So you better
obligation, legal
you better
obligation.
comply because
And
otherwise
we'll
you're
be
not getting
enforcing
any federal
aggressively,
funding.
we're going to be protecting
Every
our
state,
citizens.
good,
We're
I
gonna
see you
protect.
good. I look forward to that. That
So
should be a
just
real easy
to
one.
end, this administration has been
And enjoy
fighting
your life
for
after governor because I
parents'
don't think you'll
rights
be in elected
and
politics.
universal civil
Every
choice.
state has a
We wanna do
responsibility
something
to
that I
comply
think
with
many
Title
people in
IX.
this
They have
room
an
want, and even if
obligation, a
you don't,
legal
I think you do
obligation.
want it, but you might not
And
be
we'll
able to
be
say, we wanna
enforcing
move the schools
aggressively,
back to
and
the states,
we're going to be protecting
Iowa
our citizens. We're going to protect.
South Carolina,
So just to
Georgia,
end, this
all the states
administration
can
has
run your
been
own
fighting
school
for
system.
parents'
And
rights
you do a fantastic job.
and universal school choice. We want to do something that I think many people in this room want, and even if you don't, I think you do want it, but you might not be able to say it. We want to move the schools back to the states,
But we
so
want to get
that
it back,
Iowa
take
and
it away, so.
South
just some
Carolina
steps, so
and Georgia
last, it's
and all
usually
the
with
states can
38,
run your own
39, or
school
40 out of
system.
40. They take the
And you'll
40,
do a fantastic
biggest,
job,
biggest,
Kim.
most
You're going to do
important,
great.
whatever
I
it might
mean,
be, but
I
40
use your
countries.
example because you're so
And
much into
We were 38,
education,
38,
done a great job with
39,
school
and
choice. And you'll do your
congratulations,
school
but 2
choice. That'll
months
be
ago,
the
3
easy
months
thing.
ago, we hit number
But we want to
40,
get
so
it
we were
back,
last
take it away.
in
So
terms of
just some
education in the
stats. So
world.
at last, it's
we were
usually with
first in
38,
another
39, or 40 out of 40.
category, though.
They
We
take
were
the
first in
40,
cost
I
per
guess
pupil.
biggest, most important,
So
whatever
we
it might be,
spend
but 40
much more,
countries.
and by the way, second wasn't even
And
close.
we were
So you have
38,
Norway,
38,
Sweden,
39, and
Denmark,
congratulations. But
Finland,
2 months ago, 3 months ago,
China.
we hit number 40, so we were
that's
last.
the big
in
country
terms of
theory, right?
education
That
in the
4,
world.
1.4, they're rated
And
number 5.
we were first in
That's a
another
little bit scary,
category,
isn't it?
though. We were first in
But
cost
they're
per
all-
pupil. So we spend much more. And by the way, second wasn't even close. So you have Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland,
Right, it appears
China.
maybe that
So there
shot
goes the
did
big
freeze on us.
country
We were
theory right
listening
there
to
for what,
President
1.4.
Trump
They're
and the
rated
tape
number
playback,
5.
and,
That's a little bit scary, isn't it?
There,
But
going
they're all-
after, President Trump going after the governor of Maine. And we were listening in there to President Trump talk about tariffs, talking about.
Right, it appears maybe that shot did freeze on us. We were listening to President Trump in the tape playback and getting a little bit heated there, going after President Trump going after the governor of Maine. And we were listening in there to President Trump talk about tariffs, talking about migrants in the country as well as the war in the Ukraine there. So a lot to be discussed right there, and we were bringing that to you from the beginning all the way to the end, and it looks like that shot, still frozen right there. So we'll keep an eye on it for you. If it does come back, we will bring it to your attention all right here. In the meantime, I do want to show you what is going on in New York City right now as supporters of Luigi Mangione are out as he has a court appearance today, and we are waiting for a shot inside of the hallway right outside of the courtroom. Of course, Luigi Mangione is accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO, and that was caught on camera. And now with another court appearance, we are seeing some of the supporters of Luigi coming out in droves right now. That's what we have seen. So again, we'll be keeping an eye on that for you here on Live Now from VOUS. In the meantime, let's go on to another event, though, that is happening live right now, and this is part of the Proud Boys doing a news conference out in D.C. So let's listen to that here on Live Now.
I want people to know what we were planning that day, because what we weren't planning was to attempt to overthrow the government. Because I promise you, if we did plan it,
I'm with my brothers.
it would have worked.
Beautiful crowd of J6. Are you worried that
I'm sorry?
Are you worried that the history books are
The question was, how do you want J6?
No, I mean,
hey,
I don't care, because I do things like this. So I talk to you guys. Whether people want to believe us or not, I don't care what history book writes. I'm with my brothers. I'm with this beautiful crowd of J6ers, and that's what's important to me.
Do some real important.
Let me jump in on this one. Go ahead, Evan.
The question was, how do you want J6 to be remembered? We want the J6 to be remembered as what occurred that day. What we still have yet to know, and what you guys have failed to do, is discuss what happened at the senior leadership of the Capitol.
You're being told, Ron would love Ron sitting there saying, oh, give me the education. You're being told by people in Washington that don't know much about your state and maybe don't like your state, maybe don't like you, maybe don't like your pupils, about